And hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of HazChat. I'm one of your co-hosts, Bob Koshignano, with my cohort in crime.
Derek Shawman.
I
Here I
say it
am.
all. I say it all the time. I can't help myself.
Here I
I'll,
am.
maybe for 2026, I'll come up with something new, spectacular, something, or I won't.
I feel like my head is getting bigger inside of this box.
Well, you are the brain. You.
No, I can see like
Good.
pore defects or something. Bob's trying to make me look bad online. I don't like
I
it.
kept a good tan going now. I don't know if that was from I was on the boat yesterday or my settings are just off a little bit, but either way, it works. It's not showing my grayish, yellowish, tintish skin, whatever. Anyway, we have an exciting episode today. I've known this gentleman for many years, and this is an interview I've been looking forward to for a long time. He is known all over. He's written many books. I have several of them, and I'll talk about it in a few minutes. But so we're excited to have him. But first, a quick message from our sponsors. Hey, HazChat listeners, looking to boost your skills? Check out respondertraining.com. They've got top-notch responder training and essential tools like their 1-inch propane and CNG flare-off kits, water injection tools, and much more. Train smart, stay safe, and excel in the field. That's respondertraining.com. Enhance your HazMat training with Signal, the most realistic gas detection training on the market. For under $100, you can simulate any detection combination from handheld meters to fixed location monitors, and even confined space scenarios with their universal pump attachment. Signal delivers unlimited range and detector combinations trusted by top teams around the world. Visit signalapp.com or download the app now. Signal, unlimited range, unlimited possibilities. In Our Gear products, built by first responders for first responders. In Our Gear delivers innovative, field-tested tools for every level of hazmat response. The ZMAT card empowers ops-level responders to set the initial tone with quick, easy-to-use hazard identification. The R-Claw line boosts efficiency for technicians in the hot zone, and the WIMS board enhances command competence from behind the steering wheel. Trust In Our Gear, where reliability meets response. InOurGear.net. And here we are with our guest, Mr. Chris Hawley. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Thanks for coming on. And I alluded to some of your books, and I got to I'm going to quick plug. When I first got into HazMat, one of the first books I got was your air monitoring book. And I've gotten the other updated editions since then. So kids, if you're listening out there, do yourself a favor and get that book.
I appreciate that plug.
Absolutely. So
I was actually looking at one of my copies of it, and on the side of the pages, someone had written their name, and somehow I got a hold of someone else's book. So that means at some point in time, I had my book, set it down, and picked someone else's up. So they probably have mine somewhere. But yeah, it's nice. I go back to those books quite frequently, actually.
Absolutely. Well, I can't imagine anybody not knowing who you are, but for those who are listening, who may not, please.
Well, I started my fire service career in Western Pennsylvania, then got hired by Durham, North Carolina Fire Department. Became a hazmat specialist there, and that started my passion for hazmat. I had an opportunity to move to Baltimore County, Maryland, and shortly thereafter, I was the hazmat coordinator for the Baltimore County Fire Department, and enjoyed a wonderful career there. Had a wonderful time. Very busy hazmat team. Very industrialized community. Was quite a learning experience for me. Then I had an opportunity to do some consulting and training of our federal law enforcement partners, which transformed into me traveling the world training other governments on how to deal with weapons of mass destruction, along with the FBI and Customs Department. Then decided I didn't want to travel too much anymore, and got into consulting with emergency management solutions with Greg Sox, Robert Bradley, and I also am a part-time instructor with Scott Russell and the Meter Guys.
You are a busy guy. I think you have definitely hit the mega miles in airfare for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've spent quite a bit of time on airplanes, not as much as some others. You know, a friend of ours has got 2 million miles on United, and I only
That's
have a
right, he
million and
did.
I only have 1.5 million. So, but I'm catching up.
That's right, he
So,
did. Did they let him sit in the co-pilot seat at least? Maybe.
no, the pilot came out and gave him a medallion, a piece of cake, and some other award. It's a big
That's a
deal when
big
you
deal.
2 million miles. Yeah, pilot comes out and greets him now when he boards a plane.
That's
So
awesome.
Oh.
I'm not quite there yet, but I want to be.
Uh,
Bob and I are trying to create our own program where you actually get credit based off of the amount of time you're delayed and redirected. So if anyone out there at
shit.
any of the major airlines is listening, if there's any kind of chair miles or
Yeah,
floor miles,
floor
we're
miles. Yep.
we will be your endorsers.
Well, I know that I'm never booking any travel with you two. I know your history, so that is not happening.
We just
We've already proven that road trips are not
railroads
even
don't work
safe.
either. we took off the other day for a week-long class, and we're like, 45 minutes into it, a rock hits my windshield. I'm like, you son of a bitch, you can't make this up. Good God.
But you did get a Bucky stop in there.
Dude, you know I had to. If it's
Yeah.
a Bucky's or a White Castle, I'm going.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So again,
Well,
we're back to food.
that's what's disappointing about the Chicago conference not happening is I don't get my chance to get White Castles.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Well, we'll have to make
I
some
should have sent you a
arrangements.
picture of the chili dog that I had when we were at this class.
Oh my
This
God.
thing was phenomenal.
So we just
Was
went from
phenomenal.
HazMat right into food porn. So,
Hey,
which
you
is
know
what we
what?
do.
You know what? Let's be real. That's what people are here for. People want to know
Oh,
what are we eating.
Well, chili dog's a pretty bad hazmat. I mean, it's got some pretty good effects.
the size
So-
of this
Nitrates.
thing. Oh, this size of this thing could have fed a small family without a doubt.
Yeah.
It was huge. It was huge. So anyway, so one of the things we want to talk about today was real quickly, is where you saw hazmat in the early stages of your career, how it is towards the middle, and where you think we might be trending, say 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road.
Well, when I first got in it, and I had, the experience of the two hazmat teams, Durham, North Carolina, and Baltimore. The Durham team was focused predominantly on high tech industries. Wasn't heavy industrial, but was high tech. So their training, their equipment, things of that nature mirrored the semiconductor industry, things of that nature, dealing with computer chips along those lines. Then we'll go to Baltimore, where heavy industrial. So two different styles. And in the early years, and I was talking about this the other day, is that hazmat teams in their formation, you go back to the early days, we were making our own tools. We were making our own things. We were making our own devices. And there wasn't anything off the shelf you could buy. So it was this gritty kind of, blue collar kind of situation where we were dealing predominantly with oil, gasoline, diesel fuel, things of that nature, just heavy industrial steel plants, basic corrosives, nothing that fancy. Well, technology changed. So midway through my career, our detection devices got a little bit more sophisticated. And so we looked at some basic, we used to have the basic detection devices. The MSA 2A, gas device is what everybody started on. And it worked, but man, it was clunky. It was horrible. And you had to, feed it and take care of it. But then we got some other devices that did a few more things, and they still weren't quite where we needed them to be, but we were getting closer. And there were things, like a gas chromatograph. Now in Baltimore, we had access to gas chromatographs, not on the rig. We'd have to go to take a sample to a chemical plant or to the state lab, and they'd run the sample for us. And we wanted a gas chromatograph. We knew why we needed it, but it wasn't really available to us, to be vehicle mounted or vehicle carried kind of situation. So we were aware of those kind of devices. And then 9/11 hit, and we had to, rapidly gauge what we're going to do. And that sort of one of the disappointing parts of my career is that, a friend of mine, Steve Patrick, and I were teaching anti-terrorism techniques, back in 1995. I mean, we were busy doing anti-terrorism kind of things back in 95, 96, 97. And nobody was really paying too much attention. And we had the first World Trade Center bombing.
Right.
We had the Murrah building bombing. And it's like, folks, you got to wake up.
Yeah.
This is going to hit us pretty bad. And I look at that and go, people should have paid more attention. And I don't know why they didn't. But we also missed our big gap in the detection world was biological detection. So when October 14th hit and the first anthrax letter was sent, we were way behind, and we were using technology that, wasn't proven, wasn't tested, and we were struggling. And in my fear, a younger responder the other day asked me at a class, he said, "What worries you?" And I said, "Well, what worries me is we're going to go back to the October 14th of 2001, except it's going to be October 14th of 2026, and we're not any better prepared."
Yeah.
And because we've sort of forgotten all those things that happened around 9/11.
Yep.
We've forgotten all the things that happened with the anthrax. 9/11 was horrific, but October 14th and on for HazMat teams was very challenging. And it was a relatively small event, looking at it, looking back at it now.
Right.
It impacted lots of people, but the actual hot zones or hot areas was relatively small. Just imagine if we had 10 sites, 15 sites, 20 sites, around the country. We're not prepared. Now, on the chemical side, there have been great leaps and advancements. I mean, I wish when I was on the rig, I had an FTR and ROM.
Right.
I mean, we were using the HazCat kit.
Yep.
I love the HazCat kit. HazCat, if you're trained and know how to use the HazCat kit, incredible device. I mean, you give me an iodine chip and an unknown liquid, I'll come pretty close. And but now with the new teams having FTR and Raman in combination, and some of the things some of the companies are coming out with the AI interface,
Right.
with be able to look at these algorithms, look at the spectra, and compare and look at it where we were visually looking at spectra and trying to do the best we could. Now, obviously, we had scientists, reach backs. You get a scientist to help you, but we're looking at the spectra now. AI is going to do that and get you a whole lot closer. The only challenge is that the threshold of detection is still not where I want it to be. I still, we still need to get down lower. But so we're looking at the beginning, basic oil, gas, things of that nature, basic tools that we were building ourselves. Now we have some pretty sophisticated devices.
Right.
I mean, the mass specs, the high pressure mass specs, even, simple gas chromatographs, devices, are so small and so incredibly easy to use, but they're still not quite to the level that we need them to be. And most teams, there's gas chromatographs still out of the reach of most HazMat teams.
Yeah.
But an FTR and Raman shouldn't be out of the reach of, most. You need those tools. Now, what scares me a little bit in what the future holds is the younger responders are going to those tools, the advanced tools first.
Yep.
And they are forgetting about the basic tools. And when I do a detection class, one of the things that comes up is, so how do you get the lower thresholds of detection? And I say, well, you can use colorimetric tubes. I can change the the sensitivity of a colorimetric tube easily. I just
Mm.
pump it or draw more air through it,
Right.
and I can change the sensitivity of that device. And they look at me, well, we haven't used colorimetric tubes in like 10 years. I don't even sure if they're in date. And it's like you
Wow.
have this tool that if you understood how it works, then you can be, you can come up with some pretty good ideas, rapidly,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to because it's going to give us detection levels lower than an FTI or a Raman. And
Yep.
it's going to give us better answers. It's not definitive. It's not, it's a presumptive test, but for what we do, for a lot of things we do, I'm good with presumptive and saying it's in this family.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, because we have in our air monitoring class that Derek and I do, we have found a lot of what do we call them, Derek? Buttonologists. They go
Yes.
right for the easy button, and instead of doing your basics that you should be doing, quite honestly, in the
Well,
beginning.
and the reality is the chemical and physical properties are remaining the same. Yes, our
Yep.
technology is advancing, but you have to have the foundational understanding of what those properties are and how they work. And then we can give you any tool and you can be successful in using it. The thing that I see, and I don't know how, I'd like to hear your perspective on this, Chris, is we've added vastly increasing technologies. I don't feel like we've done enough on the education side to keep up with that. Like we're kind of teaching tech a lot the same way that we were prior to having these devices. And then when people are coming out of tech programs, they've got this technology and they've been told how to use the device, but the fundamental understanding of how the device works so that they can understand what it tells them, what it doesn't tell them, and when it might tell them something that isn't 100%. I think that we've lost that component where, because we've added more to your toolbox, we still spend the same amount of time with you. We're not really meeting the technician where they need to be.
Well, I wholeheartedly agree. When you look at it, and let's take it even a step simpler. Let's go to a 4-gas instrument or 5-gas instrument. In a technician class, how much time do they spend using that device? And not only, I mean, that's using the buttons, that's figuring out how to operate the device. Let's talk about how much time in the classroom spent on how to interpret the results.
Yep.
What do those results mean? And one of the common questions we ask in doing the meter training is, what does your device say? What's the screen read when you're at 100% of the LEL?
Mm-hmm.
The greatest majority of the people don't know what shows up on the screen when they're 100% of the LEL. They have no idea. And we go back and check their devices, and we find situations where they've been in flammable environments because the peak readings are showing them being in flammable environments. And we just look at it and go, well, when did this happen? Well, we don't know. Like, what do you mean you don't know? At some point, this device was in a flammable environment.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the flammable range, and they don't understand. They don't even understand the percent of a percent figuring out
Right.
LEL.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things. And I know, we serve, on the NFPA committee. I mean, one of my focuses has been trying to get more realistic training in the technician side of things, move the advanced detection devices to an advanced chapter, and move more basic devices into ops and technician. And the committee, the great folks on the committee have been working towards that goal of getting, more realistic, training competencies, for detection devices. And now it's up to the academies to do that. But one of the problems we have in training academies getting HazMat ops is that there's not a HazMat person teaching that class.
That is very true.
It's a fire instructor, not taken away from fire instructors, but they're not HazMat technicians. They're not HazMat specialists. And so you need somebody who knows the nuances, understands those devices, and they're just not checking a block. Yep, we covered, 4-gas detection devices. You know how to turn it on, know how to turn it off. You're good. No, you're not.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of things that go into training our first responders. I mean, we get lucky every day,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
I just look at it and go, whew, man, there's another one. I was just, this morning, having my coffee, gas explosion in an apartment building. It's like, man, I hope nobody was, no firefighters were injured in that. And my first thought is, did they lead off with a detection device?
Yep.
They jump off the rig with a detection device. And I don't know, you read the line of duty death reports and you go, they had a meter in their hand and their meter was telling them, get out.
Yep.
And they didn't.
Yeah.
So,
Well, because we push envelopes, we see it with SCBA. We have people that are still interior when their low air alarms are going off. So the solution was the manufacturer's like, okay, we'll give them more air, and then we'll come up with a different algorithm for when you should come out. But now we've given people more air, and we still have the same problem. So we have to fix that cultural aspect, like you said, of they had the meter, but were they using the meter? Not did they just have it? Were they actually using it? Were they interpreting that data? And if the person who's giving them the initial training is doing it out of obligation, not out of a genuine interest in delivering educational content that's going to make those responders better, that's where we fail these guys. We have experiences where we have people that when they cover hazmat give kind of the get some coffee, try not to fall asleep. We have to get through this at the operations level.
Yep.
And when you're starting people out in their fire service career, telling them to not be interested in something, they're moldable minds and they're going to listen to that. I couldn't imagine us doing that with dive rescue, high angle rescue, or forcible entry. So that's something that we've got to find a way to fix on the front end so that we get those competent responders, because we hear about gas explosions in residential structures probably at least once a month. It makes national news.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be repeating those same failures.
And some of the things that happen too, and it's almost like they just took this scene and put it over here. And I've heard many a PIO on the news go, when our responders heard their meter beeping, they exited the structure. Well, that's telling me they were trained to listen for the alarms and not to watch the meter and change the numbers. And
Right.
and that one crew, they said as soon as the last firefighter cleared the doorway, the house blew up. So you can't just train people to when it beeps, get out. I mean, like you said, you got to know how to interpret what you're seeing.
Yep. And make good risk-based decisions.
Yeah.
And to many firefighters, because they're the ones that are initially involved in the response, probably in the majority of this country, hazmat teams aren't responding to gas leaks in a house. It's an engine company, truck company,
Right.
and whatnot. And so, you look at it and go, can they interpret, can they make the risk decisions, as to why they do it every day in fires.
Right.
So why can't we apply this to this mystical,
Right.
cloud, or, this invisible cloud of gas? Let's, your meter is reading this, look up and go, what am I doing? Why am I here?
Yep.
And if you don't have a real good reason, then you should be backing up and, getting the gas company to shut the gas off, shutting the tank off or whatever,
Yep.
propane or whatever. It still shocks me. We, in one of the training classes we show a overturned propane truck, and we ask our students. Now these are ops and technician folks, and we ask them, is that odorized or not odorized? And every one of them say it's odorized. We go, nope, not necessarily.
Right.
Doesn't have to be. And I said, if it's not odorized, it's supposed to be labeled not odorized. That doesn't mean they didn't fill it up with the wrong stuff.
Yep.
And whatnot. I said, the only way you're going to know if that truck's leaking is a meter.
Yep.
And, we all have stories of it didn't smell like it was near the LEL.
Right.
And with bad results.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly.
Well, and getting guys to understand that 10% is just an action level. If you get 3% on your LEL, you've got a flammable product.
Yes.
It's already told you that. You know enough to say, okay, we have a flammable environment. Let's change the environment.
Yeah, there's something there that's flammable, and you may not know what it is. And if you don't know what it is, which means you don't know what the source is, so the further you get in the building, the worse off you're going to be.
Right.
So again, it goes back to that risk question again. What am I doing? Why am I here? And I need to change the environment. I need to take corrective action, to do that. But you look at it and go, I mean, even a reading of a 1 tells me there's something flammable in the air.
Right.
Exactly.
If I walk into a house and get a 1, that's a problem.
Right.
It doesn't mean I'm going to blow up, but where's the source of that 1?
Yep.
And it could be the basement's full, and it's risen up from the basement, and I walk in the front door, and it's gotten to a 1 there. But if I go down to that basement and it's at 100,
Yeah.
and when you look at that, and somewhere along the way you're in that flammable range to do that. But again, it goes back to, and something I wanted to mention before is, we don't teach, even in HazMat technician, we don't necessarily teach that well the various, let's just say, flammable gas sensors. I mean, there's 5 some flammable gas sensors that are on the market. Do you understand how each of them work and how different they are? We just got a 4 gas instrument. We got a 5 gas instrument. It does flammables. Well, does it do all flammables?
Right.
How well does it do flammables? Does it not, does it miss some things? One of the, like infrared's not going to see some gases. Infrared's great if you're in a 0, oxygen atmosphere. Not many HazMat teams have a need for it, but I mean, we had a need for it because we had ships and we inerted ships, frequently and things of that nature. We needed something that would operate, in a 0, oxygen atmosphere. But most HazMat, regular HazMat team may not have that need. But if you bought one because it was on sale, then you go, well, that doesn't see all flammable gases. It's a great device, but it doesn't see everything. And one of the gases, acetylene. Well, we never see acetylene on the street. And never run into that.
No.
Yep.
And it also, one of the things I think that kind of skews the perception of fire-based HazMat responders is they'll see a sensor, they'll find that it's got cross sensitivities that cause them to go down a rabbit hole, and then they feel like, well, these sensors, why does it have this problem? Why does it do this? And trying to get them to understand, well, a lot of these things, this technology, it's really based and grounded in industrial, where they're dealing with that product. Your hydrogen cyanide sensor is phenomenal in a facility that processes and handles hydrogen cyanide. When you want to take that same sensor to your dynamic HazMat call or fire scene, where there's all sorts of other transient gases moving around, you can't fault the sensor. We're putting it in an environment that is different than the challenge that it was initially designed for. And we have to understand that environment matters, and it's still a good tool, but limitations that maybe weren't highlighted for that technology in its intended field, when we bring it out to where we are, if we don't understand the fundamentals behind how it works, that's where we get ourselves in a bad situation.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. None of the instruments that we use are designed for us. So that's flat out. We're not a large customer base. They don't sell a lot to us, even though you think, we buy a lot. I mean, Baltimore County, I think, has close to 600 detection devices. I mean, we're a pretty big customer, but we're also a very large fire department. But even then, that 600 is nothing, compared to one chemical plant may have 600 devices, depending, one petrochemical, plant down in Houston, that one plant may have 600 devices, and they have 20 plants, around the world, so they're not, and it's incumbent upon us to learn, how the device, what it reacts to, what it doesn't react to. one of the things that auction. I was thinking you were talking about the lead up to that question, but I'm thinking about auction sensors, and I don't know this worthless fact, but auction sensors have been around for, I don't know, hundreds of years. They've been around probably not hundreds of years, but when we're done here, I'm looking up the patent date of the auction sensor. But that auction sensor hasn't changed a bit in the entire time it was first developed, and it sucks. I mean, just plain flat out, auction sensors suck. They're dead banded. They're not reading what I need them. I need when it goes from 20.9 to 20.8, I need the device to tell me that, because there's a crap load of stuff in the air. I need to know that that's going on. Well, it's dead banded. It's not going to tell you that. And there's some LEL sensors that are dead banded. When there's one LEL sensor is dead banded up to 5%. I want to see that 1. When I walk into a building, I want to see a 1, because that tells me there's something flammable in the air. Maybe a liquid or maybe a gas, but it's in the air. If it's a liquid, it's got a high vapor pressure. It's coming after me. And the further I walk into this building, I'm in deep trouble.
Yeah.
But if I don't get any indication until I get to a 5, that's an issue. But auction sensors are the same way. And the cross sensitivity, just because you got CO or SO's H2S, and it could be 35 other things. And people forget that little tidbit of information means, just because it says CO does not mean it is CO.
That's right.
You gotta find it. And so it's interesting. We look at it and say, not only do responders they know how to turn the device on, but they don't have an idea about your response times.
Right.
You ask a HazMat technician, describe a T90 for me.
Yeah.
And they go, what? I don't know what a T90 is. Well, how long does it take this sensor to indicate? I don't know. And they don't understand. I mean, there's a lot of fire departments using, hydrogen cyanide, single gas instruments, for the fire smoke thing they're trying to combat. Some of those sensors, the response time's 2 to 3 minutes.
Exactly.
If I check a shotgun house, I can be in and out of that house in a minute.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the device has still got 2 minutes to figure out what the atmosphere was.
Let alone the negative cross sensitivities that are presented by gases that are part of your ordinary construction fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you didn't rule those out, you don't know. And something that I hope that people picked up on that you were saying there, if you're operations level or technician level and you use a multi-gas meter, and when Chris said dead banding, that was the first time you heard that term, that's something we've got to fix, because I think a lot of people don't understand what that is. And, you probably were able to infer, if this was the first time you heard what Chris said, what it means. If not, I mean, we can give Chris a chance to explain it real quick, or you can just look it up. But that should impress upon you, you were not given all the information for the tool that you've been asked to use if you never heard the term dead banding.
Well, we can sum it up real quickly. Dead banding means the sensor's not reading what it's supposed to read. It's not outputting a reading. It is like for the auction sensors fluctuate. They go up, they go down, they go all around. The manufacturer wants you to have a steady reading. So they tell the sensor electronically to read 20.9, even though it's 20.8, 20.7, 21, 21.1. And so the dead banding varies, like LEL sensors. When LEL sensor is dead banded, it doesn't read from 0 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Other LEL sensors are 0 to 1, 0 to 2. It's not an uncommon meter tactic by the manufacturers to dead band, because for some reason, they don't want us to look at readings going up and down. They think that's going to irritate us. And that may be true on the industrial side, but it's not true on my side. If I see an auction sensor go down, we're in trouble.
Right.
If I see an auction sensor go up, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
That's bottom line. You don't even need, as an ops person, I don't even want you to do the math. You're in trouble, and you better have your mask. You better have your mask on, and be calling your HazMat team, because there's something there, and it may not be good for you. So the dead banding is a way to keep the sensors steady. The reading they are outputting to keep it steady.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes those readings blind to us.
And there you go. We could sit here and do a whole hour. We can do multiple hours with Chris. We really could. One last thing too with the air monitoring part. Not only the dead banding, but when Derek and I, especially when we teach some of our classes, how many people are walking around with a meter and don't have their mask on? Because they're taught, oh, well, if it changes, then you worry about it. Then it's okay to put your mask on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of my little pet peeves that drives me nuts. Anyway.
Yep. Go to fire expecting fire. Go to HazMat expecting HazMat.
Yeah.
Until you determine otherwise, you better be in the right PPE.
Yeah, we don't run up to a house fire and go, oh yeah, there's fire. Let me run back to the truck and put my crap on.
Yeah, air is cheap. I've never had to pay for a bottle of air.
That's
at the air truck.
Never seen a credit card swipe machine on the side of a Cascade fill station, as we like to say.
Yep.
Absolutely. Chris, thank you so much for doing this with us. That time went really fast. We will definitely have to do this again in the new year. Before we go, everybody, we want to share a couple sites with you guys. Obviously, our Facebook page. Check us out. We put all kinds of stuff, even incidents that are happening around the country or the world. We try to post information on there. Our HazChat channel on YouTube. We are now on all the platforms, so you can listen to us everywhere. But if you want to watch episodes, please check our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And then some websites for you guys to check out. As I mentioned, the HazMat 101 Consultants Facebook and YouTube page. The HazMat Guys Roundtable, myself, Bobby Salas, and Mike Monaco, and Jeff Steintek do a live show first Tuesday of every month, 8 p.m. Eastern. So check it out. Make fun of us if you want. And HazMat Group 2. I am proud to say we have now hit over 10,000 members of that group. So we're really excited about that. And HazMat Group of Common Sense, all great places to get information, ask questions. And, there is no dumb question. We hit somebody just the other day was asking something about sensors, since we were just talking about air monitoring. And people want to help out. They add files, whatever. So I encourage all of you to check those out. So, Chris, again, thank you, my friend. Greatly appreciate it. And to everybody out there, I hope you have a happy, healthy, safe new year. And we'll be hazmatting with you into the new year. So please take care and be safe. And remember, when you're through learning, you're through. Stay safe.